and welcome back to my channel. It has been a long time since I've filmed, and I figured I would film a little get ready with me, a little chit chat. It has been a hot minute, and this is the first time I'm wearing makeup in over a month. So yeah, let's get going. I'm going to start with some primer. I'm using the Revolution Super Dewy, which doesn't seem to want to come up. Oh dear. Leave it to sit a month and it solidifies, huh? I actually just this last week kind of urged myself into getting back into putting on makeup. And to do so, I bought myself some new makeup sponges because I haven't bought new makeup sponges in a long time. And I bought a 4-pack of these Real Technique ones, which I remember liking. But I think they've changed them. This is so soft that when I push, it just compresses so much that I feel like I'm punching myself with my fingers. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But hey, now I've got 4 of them to use up, so oh well. Oh well. Dear. I'm going to use my Hydroluminous Concealer. Today is a Saturday, so all of us are home. All of us would have been home anyway. Because the kids have been sick this week. We had a bit of a sickness diarrhea situation going on. Oh, the joys of having children. I'm just going to go in with a bit of Tarte Shape Tape. I hope I'm not being too heavy-handed, because like I say, I haven't worn makeup in like a month. Which for me, attempting to be the panning queen this year, that ain't good. Oh dear. So, what has happened in the last few months? Let's have a good old catch-up chit-chat. I have tried to film this video before, and I will say I feel like I was a bit too bitter at the time. So, good thing I scrapped those videos. So we're just gonna briefly touch on everything. There's a few rough things, kind of upsetting things that have happened, and so we're not going to go into too much detail. Well, the biggest main thing that happened, I suppose, 2 things that happened could probably rival for the biggest thing. One of which is refusing to nap right now. Well, I just made a rookie mistake. I just recorded a whole bunch of stuff without actually recording. Can you tell it's been a while? Can you tell it's been a while? So I've just done my foundation. I did a mix of the No. 7 Skin Illuminator with the Revolution Full Camouflage foundation, and this sponge. I'm not sure if it's a sponge or the new skincare routine, but well, the different skincare routine. I'll get into that later. But it just feels so. My skin just feels so dry. It feels so dry. But anyways, I had my baby. I had a little girl. Her name is Rosie. She was 6 pounds 10 when she was born. She's the smallest of all my children. She's just this dainty little thing. And yeah, so I ended up actually being induced with her because she was 2 weeks overdue. And I spent those 2 weeks pretty much holed up at home because I was scared if I got too far from home that I would go into labour, and because I kept going in and out of labour. And I ended up going in on the 15th of November, getting my waters broken. And they were like, oh, well, we'll wait 2 hours and see if you go in naturally, and I didn't. They said, oh, we'll wait 2 more hours. And I didn't. So they started the induction. And I kind of wished at the first 2 hour mark that I had taken the induction, because then I would have given birth under the same team that I started my labour with, because they were lovely. They were very accommodating, they were very informative, they were very supportive. I could ask them anything and they didn't talk to me like I was a dumbass. So that is the Clinique Chubby Stick. And like, they were very open about what they were doing. Like, anytime they had to leave the room, they were like, oh, you know, we're going on break, we're doing this thing happened. And, you know, kind of kept you in tune with what's going on in the ward, just so that you don't feel like they've left you for nothing. Like, whilst I was on the ward, there were 3 ladies who had who ruptured. Is that what it was? Yeah. Yeah. There were, like, so every time they left me, they told me, you know, what's going on, and like, so I didn't feel like they were leaving me for a long time for nothing. And I thought that was very, very kind and generous of them. You know, it's not information that I'm entitled to know. But I did feel so bad for those other ladies. So yeah, can pop on some powder. So the woman that I swapped to after those ladies left, she was very clammed up. She didn't tell me anything. She wasn't very informative. She wasn't very supportive. Anytime I asked her anything, she it was almost like she was regurgitating textbook answers, and she spoke to me like I was a moron. Like, this is my third. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm only asking you because I don't, like, I just need a little bit of reassurance, or if there is something I genuinely don't know, there's just no need to talk to me that way. Yeah, there was one point where the duty doctors, oh god, sorry about the noise, guys. There was one point where the duty doctors came in and she was like, oh yeah, she's 7 centimetres dilated. And I was like, oh, okay. And then not half an hour after the doctors left the room, I started crowning. I could feel that I was crowning. There's no mistaking the feeling that you are crowning. And she didn't seem, she thought, it felt as though she thought I was being stupid, or that I didn't know what I was talking about. It's like, trust me, I'm crowning, and you just said I'm 7 meters dilated. She thought, she treated my, what's the best way I can word this? She was very flippant about my concern. It's like, you literally just said I'm only 7 centimeters dilated. I'm crowning. I'm worried I'm gonna die. And you're treating it like it's nothing. So maybe I don't know. I could go into more detail about it, but the topic of my dilation was very anyone's guess, because I was told I was 1 to 2 centimeters dilated when I was due, and then I was still 1 to 2 centimeters dilated when I was due, and I went to get my waters big. They're like, no, you're not dilated at all. It's whatever. I don't even know. I have no idea what's going on. So yeah. And then being on the Pitocin drip, it was up too high because I wasn't... Side note, I don't feel pain when I'm giving birth. I have very good pain control, a very high pain threshold, I think. As long as I can keep my breathing under control, I can keep on top of my pain myself. I don't really need gas and air and everything. I did this, like, I needed it this time. I needed it. Because the duty, the head midwife of the ward came in and she's like, you don't look like you're in labour. Turn up the drip. And they turned up the drip quite high, and it ended up my contractions were, even after they turned down the drips, my contractions were overlapping. Like, when she said it didn't look like I was in labour, I was getting 3 contractions in every 10 minutes. and they were good, strong contractions as far as like the monitor was concerned, but because I wasn't in pain, apparently they weren't strong enough. It's like, okay, labour has to be torture when you're in the labour ward, apparently. But yeah, I ended up having overlapping contractions. Like, one would finish even after they turned down the drip, this is. Like, even after one had ended, like another one had already started, I was getting no time to recover from any of my contractions. They were just coming in waves, man. They were just coming in waves. I almost couldn't breathe. Like, it was intense. Like I say, I don't feel pain. I don't have pain problems when I'm giving birth usually. But because of the rapidness of these contractions, I'd lost control of my breathing, and it was just, oh my god, the agony. That was, would not recommend. So yeah, after that I got up to the ward in the middle of the night. I got home the next afternoon on the 16th. I was up most of that night, and then the next day I was sitting in waiting for the midwives because there was huge confusion over my phone number. They couldn't call me to tell me when they were coming. Literally like one digit wrong. I've something, I don't know if it's all NHS regions that use badger notes, but the badger notes they use up in NHS Grampian, light it on fire. Just throw it out. Go back to paper. Honestly, just go back to paper. Like 3 or 4 times I had to get them to change my phone number whilst I was seeing the midwife in the doctor's office, and it still hadn't changed on the system properly. Still, even now, my health visitor had to change had to alter my contact information because it's still not right on the system. I was like, how could it not be right on the system? Like, how? But that's neither here nor there. So waiting in for the midwife, and then we had to pick up the kids from school, and then I'm getting ready for bed so I could have my first proper sleep in like 3 days. Just to get a phone call from my dad to tell me to come down to the hospital because my mum is literally dying. Like I said, 2 big things happened. They kind of rival each other for the number 1 slot. Basically, my mum's cancer came back, and with being sheltered, with being shielding, well, she broke her legs a couple of years ago, and while she was receiving cancer treatment for her breast cancer. And she ended up in hospital with her 2 broken legs. She got home just before lockdown happened, and they were going to send her to a hospital for recuperation, but because lockdown was coming, they just sent her home, and she never really regained muscle in her legs. What's it they call it? Her muscles atrophied, and she ended up going into hospital this time around because she had major lung infections, and because the doctor wouldn't see her. Doctors, I don't care if anyone watching this is a GP. If you're a GP that's seen your patients, good on you. If you're a GP that's not seen your patients and fobbing them off with every excuse under the sun, insert whatever rant you want to go along with this finger. Just because more to fucking follow. So she ended up in hospital with severe lung infections. She got sent home only to collapse because of her atrophied legs. Because she was shielding and never regained her muscle. And then it turned out that her cancer had actually come back. And it wasn't just breast cancer anymore. It was inner lung, inner liver, and then it turned out to be actually in her bones and in her brain. It was everywhere. There was no coming back. I didn't know this. My dad wasn't very specific. I don't want this to come across as blaming him in any way, but my dad was very vague about what was going on when he spoke to me on the phone. Not gonna get upset here. So I never managed to go up and see her in the hospital because it was all during COVID regulations, and having to call to book to go into the hospital would be like one person at a time in the ward, and it was all very, I don't know what I'm allowed to do. I should have tried harder to go and see her, but at the same time, I was at the end of my pregnancy. I was not thinking right at all. And then going in and out of labour for 2 solid weeks. Going in and out of labour, I did not feel comfortable at all leaving home for long stretches of time. I mean, I suppose going to the hospital would have been the safest place for me to be, but like I said, brain not functioning at top capacity. So as far as I was aware, Mum's cancer was back, but it was okay because she was going to get treatment and she was going to go into a nursing home and get rehabilitation. And I did think it was weird that she was going into a nursing home, but I kind of thought it was because, she'd need long-term help. Maybe she wasn't able to go back home with Dad, and it was better to go into a nursing home than to go into a rehabilitation facility. Because, if she can't go home to Dad, then it's fine going to rehab. Just go to a nursing home. And then Dad's called and said, she'd signed a DNR. And I was like, well, that sounds like something you would sign for going into a nursing home. That sounds like a sort of a standard form that they might go over with you. At no point did my dad ever actually outright say, yeah, your mum's potentially dying, maybe you should come up and see her. At no point did he offer to take me to go see her. The night that Dad called me going, I actually called my boss, God love her. She got right in her car, Kim got me and Rosie and took me up to the hospital. So yeah, there was me. My mum was already unresponsive by the time I got there. So that was quite sad. She'd been unresponsive since about lunchtime that day. They thought she'd just gone for a sleep, but then she just never woke up. And then it was just waiting for the end. It was the most bizarre thing, being at a deathbed whilst clutching a newborn baby. It was just bizarre. And kind of felt bad for some of the patients because, sometimes she'd wake up and cry and be like, oh my God, these patients are going to be like, why is there a baby crying? But the nurses on the ward were so kind to me and so supportive, and they were so good with my dad. And I'd left the house in such a rush that I'd forgotten to take maternity pads with me, if you know what I mean. Well, they were kind enough to get some for me. But yeah, so my mum ended up passing at, Rosie was born at 8:20 on the Monday night, and my mum passed at 7:30 on the Thursday morning. And in all that time, I had slept all of 6 hours. Yeah, it was a long week, a very long week. And it was, I don't know. And it got so much more complicated because of COVID and everything. They can't give you paper death certificates. Everything's done online, and it's just It's been really hard for my dad. And then we had, my mum passed away a day before her own birthday as well. It's kind of a tradition for the women in my mum's family. You pass away of heart failure in November. Usually when you're 72. My mum was only 61, a day shy of being 62. No, day shy of being 63. No, yeah, 62. She done 63 this year. So after that, we had well, I had all my midwife visits, trying to get into some sort of routine with the kids. And we had Christmas. Probably the most unfestive Christmas I've ever had in my life. And then we all got sick over New Year. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen that I did have a stretch of time where things were coming together. I was trying to hold it together and I was posting my makeup looks every day there, and then it just stops. Well, it just stopped because my dad messaged me to tell me to ask me to get him a doctor's appointment because he couldn't get one, and his illness had gotten so bad that that he'd lost his voice, so he wouldn't have been able to call anyway, and he couldn't use the online service Our Doctors just doesn't work, like, at all. And fat loss use, a web consult would have been, if my dad can't talk properly, because it's hard enough to hear people over web calls as it is. So yeah. So here's me describing all his symptoms to the doctor and all my dad's prior health concerns. My dad is a stroke survivor. He has gastrointestinal stuff wrong with him. He has blood pressure problems. So the doctor ended up telling me, well, we need to rule out it's not a heart attack, so call an ambulance. Fuck me. So I called an ambulance, trying to get over to my dad's house, which is a good hour on the bus from me, and it just happened to be on a football night. I couldn't get a taxi, so it had to be the bus. Thank God he was okay. I've never prayed so hard in my life. The paramedics were still there. Basically the doctor, now this is where I said it would come in again, the doctor kept fobbing him off. If you mention anything to do with a cough, the doctor says PCR test, and it's just whatever, just see people, okay? There's many things in this world that don't involve COVID. Just see your bloody patients, for God's sake. And because they hadn't seen him, he actually had a really bad chest infection. Not quite bad enough to take him into hospital, but almost. They ended up the doctor gave us antibiotics over email, and I went down and got them that night. Got my dad some vitamins to boost his immune system, and soup and everything, because it had gotten to the point where he was not keeping any food down. And as I said, my dad's got, just to outlay my concern, I don't really like airing my dirty laundry, but my dad's got gastroesophageal reflux disorder, which basically he has lots of stomach acid coming up his esophagus, and the sphincter, it's called a sphincter, holds your stomach shut. His has loosened over time, so even if the slightest coughing fit will bring stuff up. If he leans over too long, it'll flow out itself, and it's gone to the point where it has eroded his esophagus lining, which is potentially fatal. So yeah, the fact that he's throwing up all his food, extremely concerning, because what if his esophagus ruptures? That's like instantaneous death, you know. And then after that, we had Rosie had her jabs, which, you know, that's always a bit stressful. The kids also were ill, and now we've just gotten over a bout of vomit and diarrhea. So that brings us up to today, which I believe is the 19th of February. So it's been a very, very busy time, and it's been very busy, it's been very stressful. I've been basically in panic mode for about 3 months, and it's taken this long to just sort of wind down and sort of get myself mentally stabilized to come back to filming. I have a bunch of videos that are already uploaded. I'm not sure if I'm going to put this up first or put those videos up first, but yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I've been meaning to get done that I haven't gotten done because I've just not had the mental capabilities to do it. So hopefully this is us getting over the hill, and I'll be able to start doing things that I love again. I kid you not, for about a month there, like I said, I haven't been wearing makeup. I've been doing a little more than brushing my teeth and changing my clothes. Some days not even managing to change my clothes, and I don't even feel the slightest bit bad about admitting that, because I want people to know that it happens. Sometimes life gets so on top of you that falling asleep on the sofa in yesterday's clothes and getting up, brushing your teeth and taking the kids to school is just life. That's just how you're surviving. And that's what I did. I think the longest I went was 8 days without a shower. Not my finest hour, guys. Not my finest hour. And I don't want anyone in the comments saying, "Oh, what about your partner?" Trust me, he was in the same boat as me, because we were all. It was a big mental toll on all of us, bringing life into the world, life leaving the world. My dad almost, giving us the fear of death, and then with us all being ill, and then Nick's dad is ill as well. He has major lung issues, and we don't know how long we've got with him either. So yeah, there's a lot going on. We're all emotionally and mentally drained, so I don't want anybody pointing any fingers or laying any blame or doing the "why doesn't he do this" game, because I get enough of that in real life. Whenever I talk about issues going on in my life, in real life, I think people don't get that when I talk about it, I talk about me and my partner as a we. as an entity. Because I don't mention him specifically, they think he's not involved, and I think sometimes that's a thing online as well. People don't think, because I don't specifically mention him by name, that he's not involved. It's like, totally is. We're totally a team. Like, if we weren't there supporting each other, the whole thing would just fall apart. Nick and I have been together for 15 years now. Maybe 15 years this year? Yes, be 15 years this year. I met Nick when I was 18, he was 25. And that's one of the biggest things about our relationship that people pick at is the age gap. He's 7 years older than me. And to be quite frank, I don't see why it bothers people. You know what 18-year-old boys were like when I was 18? They certainly weren't fatherly material.
Hey, hello. Hello, guys. I'm Larry. We're guys on the camera.
There's a little guy on the camera.
Hello.
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 Hello. Shut up. Here, I'll lift you up so you can say hello better. Been a while since they've seen you. I mean, look how big you're getting. Oh! Don't tell everyone how old you are now.
I'm 25 now.
He's 4. You're 4, aren't you? Right, so my camera's about to die, so I'm just going to sign off here. Sorry for this being so rambly and all over the place. As I say, it's like my first video that I filmed in a long time. Apologies for some slightly controversial opinions on some certain topics, but it's just how I feel. And yeah, given the situations that's happened over the past few months, that's how I've formed those opinions. If, you know, certain things were allowed to happen, then certain things might not have happened. So yeah, there is that. There's a lot more detail into the things I've shared with you today. But as I say, I mean, I don't specifically like airing all my dirty laundry. There are things, if you want to know, I can go into more detail about, do like a deep dive, if anyone is genuinely interested. Because there's a lot of stages. Yeah, there's a lot of layers to the story, not just the surface level that I'm sharing with you. There's just so much more to it, and yeah. I mean, losing a parent is bad enough, but everything else that preceded it is just... Anyways, I will stop now because it's seriously flashing at me now, and I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for coming back, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.